Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Crypto My Money Show. My name is Martin, and once again, I am joined by my lovely sister, Melissa.
Hi, thank you for having me again.
So, what do you think now that you've had some time to process everything that we discussed last time?
I really thought about what we talked about last time and I put more money into Bitcoin. I think
Awesome.
it's like a really good thing to do and I think everyone should start doing
See, you heard it straight from my sister.
it.
If you're 18, you can buy Bitcoin too. There's no excuse.
Nope, get started now.
Yeah. Okay, so last time, well, we promised, or I promised that I would talk to you more about like what is Bitcoin and why it's important and all that good stuff. So, how about we get into it?
Let's do it.
We have to take a trip way, 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 way back, like thousands of years back. And we have to ask ourselves, what is money? So, when you think of money, what do you think money is?
Money to me is like a necessity. It's like something that we work for every day and it's part of our lifestyle.
Okay. Well, you're describing what you're doing with money. You're describing your relationship to money. But what is money?
Money is paper.
Yeah, that's what I thought until recently too. So, okay, so check this. We got to go way, 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 way back before money was actually paper. Different societies used all sorts of different things to exchange value. And that's one of the big things with money. So, let's say you are a farmer. And then let's say that there is a shoemaker. And as the shoemaker, you want what the farmer is producing. You want, let's say that, I don't know, what's your favorite vegetable?
I like cucumbers.
Cucumbers. Awesome. So we're going to color people, and then we're going to color a cucumber green. So we've got cucumbers over here that the farmer, you, the farmer, made. But the shoemaker has shoes. It's making shoes. So if I'm a shoemaker and you're a farmer, how can I get your cucumbers?
By exchanging. So the farmer will get the shoes and the shoemaker will get some cucumbers.
Yeah. And then you have to negotiate what the exchange rate is there, but that would be the ideal path here, right? Well, what if you say, well, I already have shoes, and I already have shoes. I have several pairs of shoes, so I'll be good for a long time. I'm like, well, I want your cucumbers, but you don't want my shoes. I want cucumbers, but there's no exchange here because our wants are not coinciding. So now what?
And this is where money comes into place.
Exactly, because in this little world that we created, a world of two people, we would need one or more other parties, and we would need other goods. So, as the farmer, you might say, well, I don't want shoes, but I want some wine. So, shoemaker needs to go exchange with one or more other people to get from shoes to wine. So that the wine comes back to me, and then I can give it to you, and then I get my cucumbers. So that may have taken me half a day because I have to go find basically I have to go door to door and ask who can go for who needs shoes, and then somebody might say, "Oh, I need shoes," and I will give you this clothing. So now you have clothing, and then you take that clothing and you go door to door. Okay, looking for what the farmer wants. You have to go door to door to door to door until you find what the farmer said that you'd be willing to take. So it makes it very hard to do business because everybody's producing different things, but just because you're producing it doesn't mean that everybody that is producing the stuff you want will accept what you're making. Over time, people figured that this wasn't going to work, and they started looking for things that could be used to exchange value. And different societies use different things: rocks, stones, shells, salt, even food, cattle, land, all those things. Basically, for a long, long time, different societies tried to solve this problem. And then people, like 3,000 years ago, I think, started using gold and silver because they had scarcity, and also you could just refine them and make coins of the same size. So now you could basically like just create consistency. That consistency wasn't there before because if you were trading with like salt and food and rocks and shells and all those things, well, those are naturally occurring. So like you can't really just refine them to like an actual size. So you don't know like it's really hard to just create like standards. So societies started to use gold and silver coins. So now you, I could acquire some coins, and you could have some coins. And now, if I want your cucumbers, I just take some of my coins and I give them to you, and then I get the cucumbers. And now you have something that you know everybody else will accept. So
It's like an
gold,
easier way.
yeah, exactly. So this is one of the properties of good money, which is a unit of account, that everything that you make in your society, you can set a purchase price in just one thing. Like if you can basically price all your goods in gold and or silver, it just makes it a lot easier because there's more fluidity. Like everybody has gold and silver now, and you can buy cucumbers and shoes and wine, everything with gold and silver. It allows you to exchange value. And now you can also do stuff like you can start to measure the economy because gold and silver coins were minted to the same size. So now you could like start doing more advanced things with your economy. Now, what happened was that we started to have merchants going global, and merchants were going from one side of the world to the other side of the world, and they were starting to trade. This was like, think of kind of like Middle Ages. Um, so merchants would carry their gold and silver, and they would go far and far, across and wide. They would trade with other merchants, and they would exchange gold for like expensive things. For gold was like it's what was more valuable, so you could buy like more quantities or just like more expensive stuff. But problem is that the same reason why you appreciate gold and silver, why people want to stop you. They want to get in the way. As you're traveling across the world, the bandits want your gold. They want to steal it from you. So in the 1600s, the Dutch invented central banking, which is called a bank. So you could give your gold and silver to the bank, and then the bank gave you a piece of paper. You get paper, you get paper. So you give the bank your coins, and the bank gives you paper. And the paper is an IOU. It's basically, if you take this paper back to the bank is supposed to give you your gold and or silver back. Make sense?
Yeah, you said this started in the Middle Ages.
This was in the 1600s.
1600s.
It was starting before that, but in the 1600s is when this got really solidified with the creation of the first central bank.
Okay.
So now if you knew that the bank would give you gold or silver for the paper, now you don't need to go to the bank. You just, when you're trading, just pass the paper around, knowing that if you actually want the gold, like say you're going to another country that doesn't accept your paper, well, you just go to the bank, you exchange your paper for the gold. But in general, it's a lot safer to travel with this paper because it's small and you can hide it and all sorts of things. So people were just were content to move that money around. Now, last time we touched on the topic of inflation, right? So over time, the banks started printing more money than they actually had gold, and putting it money in circulation because good times, good times. Everybody thought there was more than enough gold at the bank, but the banks always found a way to print more paper than they actually had gold. Until eventually, the banks were still handing out the IOUs, but without gold. And this happened over a period of centuries, and many things happened in history. This is a really simplified explanation of history, but we're trying to get to the gist here. So what happened is that governments came in. Let's rotate this. So this is going to be the government. It looks like a house, but so now we have the system where the bank gives money to the government. It prints money out of thin air, gives it to the government, and then the government in return gives the bank a treasury bill. So this is very US specific, but in general, this is how central banks work. So the bank prints this money out of thin air, loans it to the government. The government gives it a piece of paper saying, I promise you to pay you back the money that you gave me plus interest. So how is the government collecting this money that it needs to pay as interest? Taxes.
Oh, taxes.
Yep, taxes. This is why we pay taxes, because the government borrowed money that was printed out of thin air, and it has this IOU, and it has to pay back the central bank. So, type, government is extracting taxes. This is why the T-bill is valuable, because the central bank knows it's getting its money back because the government is extracting taxes from the people. But the system, in order for it to work, it just requires that you print more money, because where else are you going to get the money to pay back the interest? Like, you have to print more money, and more money, and more money, and more money. And by the way, everybody's in debt. You're in debt, I'm in debt, everybody's in debt, because you need money, you need to print more money to service the old debt, or the interest on that. So it just becomes a cycle. But if you print in all this money, then the value of each individual dollar just goes down, and goes down, and goes down. It goes down. So you see that with inflation, you see the price go up, and it's not because things are getting more expensive. It's because the value of the money is getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And why can all this money be printed super easy? Because there's no more gold or silver backing this money. This IOU is now an IOU on debt. It's not an IOU on gold or silver. And here's the thing is that if you're the government, or if you're another bank really close to the central bank, then you're benefiting, well, you're getting rich, but everybody else is getting screwed, because the purchasing power of their money, the money that they're using to collect all their effort of their work, is now becoming less and less and less and less valuable. So this is the
So
situation. that we're finding ourselves in, where we gave banks the power, we gave them our gold and our silver and precious metals, and now this money that was supposed to be backed by something solid is no longer backed by anything solid.
Right. So it basically evolved. So it started with the people, and then later on, the government and the banks came into place.
Yep, and they monopolized money.
Right. And now people are getting screwed over, and the government and the banks have control and more power.
Yep, exactly. And they can, by having the power to print money and set money policies, they can benefit themselves while screwing over the entire society.
Mm-hmm.
This is where Bitcoin comes in. If I want your cucumbers, you can get some of my Bitcoin. And the beauty of Bitcoin is that it is a decentralized network. There's no central bank, and there is a finite supply. There's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin. That is it. That's
There's
it.
a limit.
You cannot print money and devalue the Bitcoin. There's only 21 million. So I can pay you in Bitcoin, and you get Bitcoin, I get what I want. And we know that if I work my entire life, I can put my entire life saving in Bitcoin, and the value of that life saving will not go down because there's only 21 million Bitcoin. So I can produce shoes, I can sell the shoes in exchange for Bitcoin, I can stack up that Bitcoin and increase my net worth over time, knowing that there's no central authority that is going to manipulate this money. And this is where the miners come in, because in order for you to receive the Bitcoin gets processed by the miners, and they perform their security functions. And we pay a transaction fee, right? So by incentivizing the miners to secure the network, we eliminate the need for banks, because now I can send you some of my hard earned value without needing a bank or a government in between. We pay the miners, they process the transaction, and then you receive the Bitcoin, and I get the cucumbers.
It's like an easier exchange, and there's no one controlling it.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so this is the super high level, super distilled down version of the history of money and why Bitcoin is important. And from here on out, we can do deep dives on specific parts. But that's like the 50,000 foot view of how money was something that was really just like a private exchange between people, where if you had something I wanted, then we would exchange whatever we had on hand. And there was no government, no bank involved. And then we moved to centralization because at the time it was a lot simpler and it solved a lot of functions. But uh, when you give people empower the ability to tweak with things, naturally they're going to do what is in their own self-interest. So centralization just leads to that corruption of power, and that's what we saw with money printing, getting off the gold standard, and all that good stuff. But instead of going back to before to using gold, now we have the digital equivalent of gold, which is Bitcoin.
Right. I think it's really interesting to see how money has like changed so much, and I think it like highlights the importance of Bitcoin as well, and it like kind of shows how it like escapes like society a little bit, and like escaping that power that the government is trying to like have over society.
Yeah, yeah, because like before, um, the advice was, oh, so you need to save, save, save. You need to put money into your savings account and bank, and then put your money in the savings account. But now that so much money is being printed, the value of that money is eroding. So you could work your entire life, have $100,000 in the bank, and then every single year, because now there's so much printing going on of money, those $100,000 are no longer buying $100,000 of things, products, services, land, real estate, whatever. Like the value is going down. So it's like, imagine that you have a bucket that you use to collect water. You have to walk a mile to collect that water. But what if that bucket has a bunch of holes in it? So by the time you get back to your house, only half of that water is in the bucket. So that's the problem with our money right now. The money that is controlled by governments, and technically not controlled by governments, but we're just simplifying things. Like because they can print that money, it's like you're working day in, day out to collect this money, to collect this value as a payment for your services rendered. But by the time you need that money, it's not half, but a portion of it has already leaked out and it's not there. It's like you're losing money, and because people don't understand inflation and how the system works, they don't understand that it's like they're losing that purchasing power in a quiet way.
And the thing with Bitcoin too is that it like doubles. Like it doesn't just stay in like a bank account like with regular money. It just stays there. But with Bitcoin, it's always increasing.
Yeah, which was the same thing with gold. It's just happening now a lot faster because it's digital. Bitcoin is digital, and it's a lot smarter than gold. So more people are getting into it. And as people are seeing that having money in the bank is counterproductive, they're moving to Bitcoin. And that's why the value of Bitcoin is going up so much because everybody knows the game, and they know the rules of this game. It's really simple. There's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin, and if you want to move Bitcoin, if you want to send Bitcoin, then you pay a transaction fee to the miners who secure the network. It's as simple as that. There, you eliminate so much fluff out of the system, and it's just really simple. And again, it just goes back to uh, there's only three parties here. It's me, you, and the miner. And you don't even need to know the miner. You don't need to trust the miners because the miners, they're all competing to earn the reward in transaction fee. So they're incentivized to not do malicious things.
Right.
So what other questions do you have? I know that threw a lot at you.
I don't really have any questions, but I learned a lot, and this is like really interesting. I really enjoyed learning about the history of money and how Bitcoin came into place.
There's so much more to it, but I think if you understand this much, then you know that Bitcoin is this life raft to get us from the situation that we're in right now to a more prosperous world.
Right. It's like an escape.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I hope that you buy more Bitcoin and you buy it for the long term, and that you get curious to learn more about money.
I definitely am curious. This is all very interesting. Thank you so much for teaching me and showing me a little bit about the world of money.
Yeah, of course. And we'll keep at it.
Yes,
All right.
of
So with
course.
that, everybody, leave us some likes if you enjoyed the video and some comments if you have questions or suggestions. And with that, we'll close it out. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.